que descubrir la manera de vivir. Este lugar, esta tierra, tiene tanto que ofrecer. tanto que ofrecer. Tiene tanto que ofrecer. Es el sueño el motor, son las metas a alcanzar. Siempre hay que descubrir la manera de vivir. Este lugar, esta tierra, tiene tanto que ofrecer. Es el sueño el motor, son las metas a alcanzar. Siempre hay que descubrir la manera de vivir. Este lugar, esta tierra, tiene tanto que ofrecer. Tiene tanto que ofrecer. Tiene tanto que ofrecer. Es el sueño el motor, son las metas a alcanzar. Siempre hay que descubrir la manera de vivir. Este lugar, esta tierra, tiene tanto que ofrecer. Es el sueño el motor, son las metas a alcanzar. Siempre hay que descubrir la manera de vivir. Este lugar, esta tierra, tiene tanto que ofrecer. Tiene tanto que ofrecer. Tiene tanto que ofrecer.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to PSGL. We are heading into round 6 of this championship. Yes, we are actually at the halfway point of this championship. Time flies by fast. I'm once again joined by the luxurious Benjamin right next to me. I'm never going to live it down, by the way.
No, I know. I've made peace at this point. It is what it is. We move on. It's good to be in the commentary box. Good to have a full voice again. And good to be at Baku, because it's one of my favourites.
Yeah, Baku always sparks up a lot of drama, a lot of action. I know in other leagues, in other times we've raced here, it's guaranteed a safety car, isn't this?
Yeah, well, you've got to think, the margins are so tight on this circuit. It's a mad dash, especially on sector 3. Now, the castle section is basically a tightrope, the equivalent of if you put an F1 car on a tightrope. I'd say the castle section comes pretty close. So, it really is a test of metal, it's a test of how far you're willing to go for that extra 10, 100. And it's pretty common to see safety cars, or at least yellow flags coming out.
Absolutely, and talking of being close indeed, the championship has taken a turn for a bit of a change-up actually, as Joris will be taking the current championship title at this moment, but only 5 points ahead of Danny Cohn, who's leading this championship for two, I think it was about 3 races, 2 races he was leading it. So, but the gap is still anyone's game, because realistically, I think we can go all the way down to what? People who are about 30 points behind, so that goes to 14, are still in this chance to win this championship. But it would take a miracle for those lower down to get near the top.
Yeah, I think looking at it a little bit more realistically, I would say from the Aston Martins upwards, so Dimas and Nowicki, they have a potential fighting chance because 24 points gap. Looking at the relative performances, you can make that up with some consistently high rounds in the next 6 races, but with a few drivers that have really been sort of showing their strength as of late, say Leo Lund, with of course the win last time out, inconsistent, but when he gets his win on his day, it's unstoppable. And don't forget, Aleda's back on the field.
Yeah, we say he's back on the field, but according to the chats, he's not actually going to be racing due to a virus, whether that's actually a biological one or a digital one. Both aren't helpful, and he will be taking this race on the sidelines, watching once again, and it's disappointing to see, because Aleda is a strong contender. Yeah, he puts up a good fight, and he's very aggressive, but we want to see him back. He's a contender for this championship, he deserves a fair fight now, and after a 2 race ban, it has impacted him quite a lot.
Really put him in a difficult spot. Can he get this back? I don't know. I think he's still in contention for it, but of course we're missing this round as well. I talked about having about that 25-point split before you're really sort of out of the running here. I don't know where Aleda's going to sit after this, because they've had, of course, the 2 race ban. It effectively is a 3 race ban with them being out for this run as well. And that could be a death nail if they get leapfrogged by someone like, say, Cordon, Super Gaming, Dimas, Nowicki, anyone in that lower mid pack.
Yeah, and especially if the likes of Dimas and Cordon get ahead of them, those are some big names that are working their way up back through the field. Dimas not having the greatest of runs, but he is a very strong driver who shows brilliant pace and control amongst himself, though recently hasn't been showing it. But Cordon, he's been, especially in this league, he's been finding his ground and almost a change of strategy, particularly in qualifying. We're not seeing him launch and putting some of the best laps in on the get-go. He's very held back. He'll get used to that track and then put in some fast laps. And you'll be seeing that from Cordon off the get-go. But his defense work, well, that is something to think about.
I think there's a lot to be said for drivers who have a little bit of a slow burn strategy, because we talked about this a little bit, I think, last time, where you have 2 schools of thinking. You've got the 110% and dial it back, and then you've got the 90% and then work your way up. But of course, one thing to remember is if you show your cards early, everyone else knows how you drive. I mean, they're going to understand a bit more anyway, but they're going to understand immediately how you approach this track, and they can plan for that. So I think there's a lot to be said for being a bit of a slower burn, rolling on that pace a bit more as the session goes on. And also that stability, that more stable approach means that you are a iron wall when it comes to defending. You know your limits exactly. You don't overstep them, and you perfectly place that car where you don't want your opponents to be.
Yeah, and this track does have great action for that as well, so it's a mixture of a strategy and overtaking style of track, so being able to place your car, in, as you mentioned, in the right place is going to be the most important thing for them. But we talked about the difficulty of this track being narrow, tight, and being a street circuit as well. I don't think we mentioned it is a street circuit, so you've then got the natural bumps and the natural way of a normal street, and that's going to play different on this track.
Yeah, I think in terms of how we see it in the game, it's not that aggressive in terms of the terrain itself. So cars are a little bit softer compared to a purpose-built facility, but it's not that violent. The tracks are still good quality, the roads are still okay, but what really makes the difference, I think, is the fact that there is practically zero runoff.
Absolutely no runoff, nothing at all. And looking at our beautiful track, it's a 3.7 mile circuit with 20 turns. Ooh, most of them are about 90 degrees, but you can see through the close section, it turns 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 all happen in such a short section. Sorry. And that is the castle section, where it's the narrowest of them all. And if we get a car that crashes there, normally in real F1 the red flag would come out, but we don't have that in the game. But the safety car will 100% come out if anyone crashes there.
Yeah, thankfully the new regulations allow for temporal phasing, so we can go through the cars that have crashed out of the castle section. The wonders of technology.
Technology, great fun. As we are now in the game, so here we go. 19 drivers today. We are missing one. I don't know who we're missing, but somebody decided not to show up to the game. And out of the list we've got today, because it always switches, who do you think's got the possibility of taking pole?
Possibility of taking pole? Tough one to call. I have my eye on Nage, for sure. I think we'll see Cordon give it a little bit more of that slow rolling on. We'll really see them come alive in the end of quali. But I don't know. Beyond the AlphaTauris, I don't really see anyone standing out. I got it etched into my mind just how hard they drove last time.
It's going to be interesting to see what the AlphaTauris do today. But I feel today it's going to be... Pole position is going to be one of our regulars. It's going to be someone like Lund, Cordor, Nage, Dimas, Norwicki. One of them I feel is going to get pole. But I feel in this race, I don't think any of them are going to be up there. Because of the nature and chaos of this track, it could go either way.
Yeah, and I think it's important to establish it can go either way. Really, you have two major outcomes. If you were to file them into one or two baskets, you have people who get an early getaway and really make that space, keep themselves out of trouble, or you have people who are right in the thick of it, right in the middle of the pack, and struggle to get round, and that is the group that causes a lot of the, well, we'll call it the upsets out on track. So I think if one of those pole sitters can get that perfect start, get that breakaway before the DRS kicks, they might be in for the win, but we'll have to wait and see.
We will have to wait and see. And talking about waiting and seeing, we've got Zerky on a hot lap. And do you want to do the hot lap or do you want me to do it?
Let's go for a hot lap. I got this one. All right, so start, finish straight, fastest on the track, of course. And everyone is geared for maximum speeds down at this. Heading into turn one, it's about 240 miles an hour. Heavy on the brakes, stays in fourth gear, keeps it low, locks in that traction, plays it a little bit safe. You can see he's not going full tilt quite yet because he's learning the track. He is going to be pushing every ounce of the track limits though as we come through. First sector is sort of wrapping up here. And again, these 90-degree corners, they're fairly rhythmic in a way. You set your car up, you put it straight to the wall, You lock down your desired gear and you fire it out the other side. Now, second sector gets a little bit more technical. We got the chicane before we come right up parallel towards, say, turn 19 and 18. But of course heading in the opposite direction, heading into the castle section. Now, this is the notorious part of the track, the one everyone knows it for. Turns 8 through 12, this whole complex, game of risk, so close to the wall, makes it out nice and clean. You can see, minimizing as much turning as possible, just gets a straight shot, has the room, and just about pips it. Sector 3 now, as we're coming into, as that is a brief yellow out on track. Justin looks to have crashed out at Castle, but it's no time for that now. Zerky's going to be about to come down that start-finish straight one more time. Get that perfect starter, perfect opener in. I know they said that we weren't going full push here, but it looks like they've done a fantastic job so far. Down start finish straight now. DRS about to go open. There it is, over 210 miles an hour as they pip down under the DHL banner. Across the line, it's going to be a 139.2.
Yeah, and critically, this start-finish line is right at the end of the straight, so you are going at top speed and terminal velocity, and you are done. You can't push this car further. You're trying to eke out more, but nothing will come out of it. So we're going to see a lot of drivers really... Well, we're going to see that what top speed comes out from these drivers and how critical it makes it. Dimas is going to be coming up to the line as Finn is going to take pole. And nope, he's deciding that it's not his lap today. Sparky also on that start-finish straight. He's going to look up to the line. Sparky put himself P2, but it's going to be Gustav in first, going for 1:38.7.
It's looking very quick there from Ryderdal. Super Gaming with a 38.8 goes second fastest. Lundqvist is going to slot himself right in there, 21 milliseconds faster, just pipping the Alfa Romeo right now. McLaren across the line next. That's going to be Danny Coe. What's it going to be? It's a 39.3. He goes ninth. Next is the Alfa Tauris. It's going to be a pretty quick one from Nage, but it's a 39.0. Not going to be a big jump. 38.9 from Cordon, though. Ironically, the slower burn typically of the two is going to be pipping themselves up into fourth now. And with Dimas and Johansson in the pits, you got Giroffu, who's about to cross the line here, followed by a couple of other cars. That's Oski. So Giroffu 14th fastest. Oski is going to be heading into the pits, and the Mercedes of Romain is going to be heading into P16 with a 40.8.
Yeah, so out of the front runners, as Roman nearly puts that Mercedes right into the wall, there's two drivers that have hit the wall and critically have now set their lap time forever for this session. So Sparky went into the wall into turn 3, which is a very easy area. As we watch Roman, you'll see there isn't a massive amount of runoff into turn 3, and especially if you don't make this corner here, into turn 3, you can hit that wall and that takes out your tyre. And then Justin Alders hit the wall into the castle section of turns 8 and 9 and 10, and that is the Charles Leclerc I am stupid moment. And he also is out of this session. But first runs aren't looking too bad.
Yeah, I do love some of these shots because you see as drivers are coming through, say turns 18, 19, 20, there you can almost, if you get the helicopter shot or the camera tower, you can see both sides of the track and cars going parallel to one another. It's mesmerizing almost.
It is beautiful, and I do wish I was a photographer at that point just to have both the cars going in opposite direction. That's like the ultimate photography moment, but I am not a photographer. I know someone who is, an Australian guy. I don't know if he ever watches esports, but if you are, Daniel, hello. Hope you're doing well, and hope you're enjoying your tour around the F1 world.
On today's episode of I Know a Guy, not the photographer edition. But it looks like everyone's headed back into the pits now, getting themselves recharged for their next runs. Romain's the only one left on track, and they are going to be dipping into the pits as well. But Dimas and Johansson, critically, they are out early ahead of the competition. Looks like they might be trying to get themselves some clean air.
Yeah, definitely some clean air, but realistically, if you're behind somebody on this start-finish straight, you can actually gain approximately, 5 kilometers an hour more on the straight, which will massively help. So you do want a car in front of you. The rest of the section, absolutely, you want clean air, nothing to bother you. to have the freedom. So if the car ahead does make a mistake, your lap is not ruined. And Dimas is going to very much enjoy this second sector with nobody ahead of him.
I think that the whole point of having that draft relies a lot on how cooperative your teammates are. And of course, PSGL, yeah, we do have teams, but drivers often are sort of driving as solo runners. We've seen that with the amount of fighting between teammates. So, for example, Nage and Cordon. Drivers are driving for their personal pride, which is fair enough. But when you get into those team strategies, and why I think Dimas has not gone for... Oh, Castle!
Johansson.
Castle, that's another one out. That's Johansson here. But why Dimas hasn't gone for the strategy of making sure someone's ahead of him is simply because he can't gamble on an unknown factor like another driver or even a teammate, because it is, at the end of the day, an unknown factor. We don't have the same intimate relationship that you do with two standard F1 drivers.
Yeah, and I think just thinking further, I think the rulings in PSGL also state you can't actually team up to use Slipstream because it gives you an unfair advantage, because not everybody does work together. Of course, we've got the natural teams as Dimas sets the fastest lap of the race and says, that's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a free track and I'll show you what to do. So you've also got, as I said, the teams. So for instance, the Aston Martins, the Mercedes, the McLarens, things like that. But then you've also got the actual team. So for instance, Nage and Sparky, all part of ET8, they're going to be want to work together because they're part of an organisation. So that's why I'd have to double check, but there is a blanket rule. You can't use your teammate as Slipstream, but it doesn't stop drivers from using each other where they can.
Yeah, so you can't corroborate and plan, but you can make the most of the opportunity, and you can almost tactically place yourself in a way that's convenient, we'll say. Because with every ruling, there is a big kick on the rear from Alessandro Finn there coming out of the castle section. But with everyone and with every ruling, there's always going to be a grey area. And you get into this wider conversation of writing of the rules versus spirit of the rules. It gets fairly grey, and it's why you see interesting interpretations of, say, track limits, where people look like they're massively extending, only for someone to go, whoop, nope, I've got one wheel on the track, fair game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is what rules are really there for. What can you push, what can you play with? And I know myself, when I used to race, that was always my area, was the interpretation of the rules, because I knew I wasn't the quickest driver. So how much of the, and for me it's the defending rules I really studied the most, and I very much did push my limits, I pushed my luck, but again, it's interpretation. So for instance, one of my key moves was going, when someone was overtaking me, I would push them to the inside of the corner and then don't move back onto the racing line. And the number of times people clipped me, I then claimed against them and they got penalties for it. So it's all in the way of the rules. Is it a bit cheeky? Yeah, but at the same time, it's an interpretation.
I do love one of the old racing leagues that I used to commentate for, sadly not F1, but way back yonder, they had a system where you could effectively... if a situation happened enough, and Leon Lund coming through the
nice.
38.494, setting them top sheet on the Mercedes. So 6 minute 30 to go. Can anyone match it?
Cordor's just gone onto the wall. He put his rear end onto the wall, so that's going to massively hinder his time.
That is going to absolutely melt his chances there. Question, if it's got any damage, what can he do?
Yeah, the thing is, we talk about damage, but this game is set to regular damage. It's not simulation, which I feel we possibly should be on simulation because of the prestige nature of this league. That's my personal opinion, which means we would be seeing rear wing damage. But going P7, Cordor appears to not have much damage.
I do think that the way that it's done is quite good, in the fact that there is a fairly sort of blanket band of what is and isn't allowed, but you still have, in some areas, you have a bit of a gradient. So like certain, like of course you've got no assist tiers and assist tiers, and some assists being allowed versus not. I think it's a good system. I think there's a discussion to be had about maybe opening up for simulation damage in the higher tiers, but I don't know. It's tough to call, especially when you have so many unknown factors, and the more you go down the tiers, the bigger wildcards you have.
Absolutely, massive amount of wildcards amongst the tiers. As I think Super Gaming is on a lap himself. No, he's not. Got a flashing red light.
He's just finished a lap. Is 0.507. That's going to be P2.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got to say there is a lot behind it, and of course we're looking at we can sit here and talk about it, but realistically, the people above us, the people who organise this, first of all, I don't think they get enough credit for them to say what a league they run, because of the amount of tiers, the amount of organisation that goes in. These guys aren't getting paid for the work they do, and it's spectacular to create such a professional, and I would class this really as a professional organisation / league, because we are hosting some absolute banger names in Tier 1, and then throughout we're seeing such a vast range of drivers who are all massively competitive, and give these tiers such close-natured racing. Easily professional league, and the guys above and girls deserve that hats off and round of applause to them for organising this and giving us this entertainment.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're in this sort of position where even with all of the conversations around the game state and around the potential next game, we've still got enough talented, dedicated drivers to put on as many leagues as we do and to put them onto the standards that we do, and immensely grateful and thankful for that. And looking on the track right now, looks like only the drivers on track are in red, as the Maranello suits are out to play.
Yeah, and Finn is looking to be improving his time, so he's on a flyer at the moment, currently about to head into the third sector, gets extremely close to turn 15, as we will see a couple of wheel bangers on the edge of turn 15, 5 tenths up. This is looking competitive. He needs to find 0.05 on this back straight, actually on the start-finish straight, sorry, and then he will take pole. But is the straight line speed on that Ferrari fast enough? He's heading up to the line with 2 minutes 45 left on the clock. He won't have really enough time to go for again. No, he did not have enough to push himself to pole. But third place, it's not bad.
Yeah, so P3 is still a very solid result. Can his teammate back him up? It's going to be P7. So a good position from the Ferraris, but now I don't think they're going to be able to get another run, unfortunately, because of the way they've set up the cadence of their hot lap.
Yeah, so this gives major advantage to the rest of the drivers. Of course, naturally you want to be the last driver out, because then you've got the track evolution, your tyres are going to be in the best, well, the track's going to be in the best condition, and then you've also got the luxury of seeing the final pole time before you then try and beat it. So the first person who's going to be trying his luck, the last run, is going to be Gustav. And at this rate, he will not be able to get another lap in if he fails this lap. So, shall I do the hot lap this time?
You may have the honours.
Going down the back straight, it's turns 18 through to 19, and then it's a slight kink here to turn 20 before the DRS opens up just about, we're getting close, around about here. The line opens up, you get a little bit more top speed. Heading into the corner, about 200 plus miles an hour before braking all the way down to 4th gear, which is higher for most cars, and shifting your way up into turn 2. Careful not to run into the wall. We've had a few drivers bang their rear wheel there. And then again, another DRS zone and a long straight. Great for overtaking. If you're ballsy, you can make the move into turn 3, but today we're going for speed and power. Again, getting ever so close to the walls, not to bang your front and rear wheels. Understeer galore in the slower sections of turn 4, and especially here, 5 and 6. You see understeer be a killer on these cars, but that Alpine looking fresh. Gustav holding this tight. Turn 7, cut as much as you can, but careful, don't invalidate your car. Through the castle section, Charles Leclerc went into that wall that we went past and critically ended his race, causing the red flag and stopping the entire race. gain a bit of speed through 13, 14, but the braking zone comes up thick and fast after turn 14, because here comes turn 15, and you have to straight line this car very quickly to make sure you get the turn, and again, that wall is going to catch a few drivers out. Turn 16 lines yourself up for the final straight, and that is the only remaining corner that you actually have to brake. The rest of this is flat out. Even with a straight line speed setup, you can keep the foot planted. As we're gaining through the speed, you can see nearly all the ERS has been used on this lap. Is it going to be pole? Is it good enough for Gustav? It's not good enough for pole, but it's good enough for fourth.
It's a good run there from Gustav Ryderdahl, and looking around the rest of the field, everyone's going to be jumping and trying to follow suit. So Danico, next to go across the line, is there going to be any improvement from the McLaren? It's going to be enough for P8. It's a good jump there. Looks like we've got Nage, though, coming with a 38.455, is going to put themselves onto pole. Any challenges? I think that was Lukvist coming over in P5 now, and a big improvement from themselves as well. Looks like next up, Jirofu 74. Is it going to be an improvement? Yes, but only P15. Haas next. Zerke heading into the pits. Alpine. Oski, I believe that is. Yep, that is P15 as well. Going to dethrone the Alfa Romeo down to 16th. And then you got Dimas, who's going to go with a 38.2.
Ooh. Where'd you pull that one off? Has Lund got anything to fight back with? No, nowhere near. Nowhere near that lap time, and I think the only driver left who has not crossed the line is Joris. Joris is actually going to put this across the line, and that's only good enough for P14, and wow. Where did Dimas come out with that? And I mentioned before as well, he's not been having the best of luck, not only in this league, but in other leagues as well. He's not been on his game. But I think it's also the fact he's not a fan of the Middle Eastern circuits. We're back in Europe, and look at him.
Every driver has their mojo, their main track. I think we might be seeing it from Dimas here.
Might. That's a dominant performance. 0.2 faster. This is esports, like 0.2 in F1 real world. Yeah, okay, that's, you know, you can understand that. Yeah, it makes sense. You know, the Red Bull's going a little bit faster, 0.2 faster. Yeah. I could believe it. But in esports, that is unheard of. Clearly, he has found his game. Quick rundown of the list, though. Dimas in first, Lund. So these two, again, fighting each other. In second, Nage third, Super Gaming fourth, Finn in fifth, Adam in sixth, Rydehall in seventh, Cordor in eighth, Tomas in 9th, Danny Coe, currently second in the championship in 10th, Norwicki 11th, Zerke, Nice Viking 4th, Joris 14th. I did those numbers wrong. Oski in 15th, Jirufu in 16th. I can't never get to the end.
It's the curse. So say with the timers, not really much you can do. But fireworks near the end. All fireworks. And retirements in quali.
Yeah, but it's very easy to do that on this track. It really is.
There we go. It's a little bit overcast. Return of the A-posed pit crew.
Ah, that's what makes the game, is the T-posed pit crew. Look at them. Spectacular. All in sync.
Yeah, perfect form. 10 out of 10. Love to see them. All coordinated. It's like a synchronized swimming routine. But as we got 20 seconds on the timer now, what's your prediction?
I said someone from the back's going to take it. I'm going to stick to it. I think Danny Coe's going to come out with a strategy, but you have to survive the first corner. You?
Yeah, I'm putting my faith at the front. Looks like it's going to be... It's going to be Dimas's day. I'm calling it. It's going to be Dimas's day.
Well, it's not too long till we get our answers. The prayers will be looked at, reviewed, and with the 5 lights... there we go. As we get going, a little pause from the lights, but no pause from Lund, who has the inside line, but the Aston Martin is going to try and fight it out, but no. Dimas has lost out to Lund, and you know that Lund will hold that position hard and lock it down the best way that he can. Finn is trying what he can at further back. He's going side by side with his teammates and also with the Alpine as well. You can see another Ferrari getting a bit wide into turn 3. It's going to be the inside of the team Finn to get past Tomas, who did try and fight it out, but Tomas has got the inside line and is going to say thank you very much. But while it's squabbling, Cordor is going to look for the free opportunity and definitely try and match a move round the outside of the next chicane, but has to back out, play it safe for now. Danny Coe, bit further back from the battle, looking at this, going, hello, there might be an opportunity as Timas goes wide, allows Danny Coe to go through. And we go through the castle section. Surely, no, I see Sparky. He's looking to go side by side. Good. He backed out. No one, realistically speaking, unless you are to the dot, can go side by side through that section.
You never side by side castle. Never go full castle. That's always in the way. Oski's down over 7 seconds behind with a missing end plate. Must have got caught in some shenanigans further down. Dimas and Lund about half a second on one another and looking for potential options, as that looks to be about the spacing till you get to P5 and P6, where Ryderdal is putting in a little bit of push, or at least trying to tuck in that slipstream so that they're in a position to take the top 5 spots.
Yeah, Danny Coe's tucked in nicely, and he's now got himself past Finn, but he's done it really early, so he needs to be careful, because Finn technically could make a really late lunge and try and retake the position, but he's got good pace, and he's not going to allow it past. But we move to the front. Lundqvist, Adam at the front, going and tucking himself in a great position. Might be wanting a move onto the Alfa Romeo as he dives to the inside. This will be a move for turn 3. And down the inside, and a clean overtake will be favourable as Zerky has left the session. And I think that might be due to a network problem, but I don't think we've desynced, so we might be okay.
Yeah, I think that there is a minor connection issue there. Dropped out the lobby. So they are still present, but they're dropping like a stone through the field, which is going to be very difficult to recover from. Lundqvist, though, looking in a prime position, did get past Super Gaming in P5. Ryderdal is now looking at the back of Super Gaming, seeing if they can get any easy pickings off of them. And you've got over a second of space between themselves and Cordon. So with the DRS kicking in very soon, we might start to see our packs, as it were.
Yeah, we would be seeing some packs, but this gap between Gustav and Cordor is mainly because that Cordor had to fight his way through the field with the Ferraris and the McLaren to get in that position, which has meant that he's dropped by. So Ryderdal is in a safe position at the moment. I say safe, actually. That's a very much a not the best term, because he's on the attack and he's going to get past Super Gaming. Now, Super Gaming's realistically under threat by the AlphaTauri, and you know that AlphaTauri is going to do what he can to push up through the grid.
Absolutely.
Draw your attention to the front. Draw your attention to the front. Sorry, you were about to say something, but that timing board is looking ridiculously close. Dimas has got the DRS. He's looking to take the lead of this race early, but backing out. He's backing out. He's not wanting to take that risk just yet.
Bide your time. This is not a track where you go aggressive. You can't afford to overdo it, because if you do, you don't just put yourself out of position, you potentially put yourself out of the race. So for any prospective drivers looking for moves, I would say pick your timings, make sure you have a safety net.
Absolutely. Bring ourselves back to the battle of the final points. This is where a lovely pack is forming. And Joris is leading this, currently the leader of this championship. And he's down with only 1 point to his name. Not where you want to be, and he's got some very, very hungry drivers, all ever so close to each other, and for Joris himself, a 3.5 second gap to the driver ahead of Finn.
The big gaps are starting to form within the rest of the field at this stage. 1.7 between Danny Coe and Finn, 3.3 between Finn and Joris, at 2.7 between Romain and Zerky, who I believe is still out of the still out of the race. I don't know. It's looking tough. It's looking real tough.
Yeah, and we're watching the Red Bull. We saw that Tomas went wide on the exit of turn 16, so this could pose an easy opportunity, but the Red Bull saying, not yet. That car's straight line speed just a little too good for my liking, but he's going to almost bump draft Tomas. And, oh! Johansson's left the session, and so has the Ferrari. We've got a few drivers dropping through disconnection. We might need to check the Discord chat, see if we have a desync happening.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Looks like we might see a potential restart. I think desync could be on the cars. We've got a few drivers out of the running. You've got Zerky, you've got Johansson as well. I think a ping went out. Yes, a ping did go out. Zerky has called for a restart due to desync safety concerns.
The question is, and I don't mean to be that guy, Zerky is the host of this race. But how many people have desynced? I can see there's two ghosts going side by side. We've got a Ferrari, got a Haas, got a Mercedes. Yeah, there's more than 3. So desync is a good call. Restart is a good call. And we will possibly be restarting. I'll wait till more drivers leave and we get full confirmation. As I said, you got the chat open.
Yeah, the thing is I worry because when drivers are racing, quite often they close everything. They close everything besides the game. So who is actually going to copy on? And more importantly, who is going to clock the fact that everyone else is retiring and leaving the session and that something's up?
Yeah, the call due to Zingseek, yeah, it has been called. So technically speaking, now we just have to wait for drivers to stop because you can see that drivers are still fighting amongst each other. They're still going, and there you go. There's the invite. So you can. I just heard the ping. We're gonna pause it for the moment. We're gonna bring this back temporarily to the chat room, and while we sort out the problem, I realise my camera's taken down, so I do apologise. My camera's not there. While we wait for it, an interesting start for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad the race got called off because you're dealing with desync, you're dealing with that. There's nothing you really can do. It's not a fair racing environment, so if you have the means to do something, absolutely do it. It's just a shame that we're in that sort of position to begin with, really.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully get more drivers due back out. So the call has been made. So technically the race that they are in right now will mean nothing. So what we'll do, we'll drop ourselves into a break, and while we're in the break, we saw a bit of the start, we saw a bit of the action. Make your predictions in the chat of who you think has the potential to win this race. We'll be back to you shortly after this break. Welcome back, everybody. The lobby, just before you are aware, the lobby is not up and ready, but we'll take this opportunity to have a little, you know, reflection of the start of this race. And yes, I did fix my camera. It's not broken anymore. And talking of the chaos, first lap, it wasn't as dramatic as I was expecting.
I was expecting that. I did not get that.
Yeah, safety car first lap. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, same here. I'm glad it didn't, because that would have been a very sour start. If it was a safety car on that point, you want a safety car with attention. Like, really, if you're racing a safety car. Us as fans, dang it, we want action.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we did get action in the form of a lap 4 red flag. Everyone was desyncing, a bit of lag. Of course, you got drivers complaining about saying it was fine, let's race, it was fine, there was no issues, but a few people were experiencing it, and it's often easier at that early point to err on the side of caution to get to the after, say, the halfway stage. You can't really call it. It's not fair to call it because you're potentially compromising racing.
Yeah, once you get to that stage, you're looking, what, halfway through the actual race, that's when you can't call it. And it's stipulated within the rules as well. Tell you what, I can even pull it up. I've actually got my screen, I can pull it up, the rules that does state that you can't call a restart, which is why I sit here, and it seemed a bit off, and I understand people would be questioning why does he have a position to question the idea that the race is being restarted. Well, actually, I was a steward back in the time, and it is in the rules. You have to have a clear reason for a restart.
Yeah, of course you've got to stipulate a clear reason, and that reason has to be just and fair. And in this case, you have multiple drivers with technical, so fair game. I think it does give a little bit of like a helping hand to the likes of, say, Oski, who was at the bottom of the field. Of course, had that in-play damage on lap 1, had to go into the pits. He is going to get basically a mulligan to say, hey, all right, you get a redo. But I think I'm not sure if we're preserving start order or if we're preserving lap 3 order. I believe it's start order.
I would believe, because it's that early, it would be start order. I think if they did, or were on the fringe of restarting the race, they would look at possibly doing it from the last desyncs section, as I am actually trying to pull up the rules. On one that I can read a rule book, and as mentioned before, I read things inside and out and enjoy the joys of this.
Well, we just got confirmation it is quali order. That looks to hold true, and we're about to get started on the second time. 5 red lights, track is hot, we're away, it's a good start. Once again from Leo Lund, having that inside line. P2 is almost more powerful, we find, at Azerbaijan than anywhere else. He's going to get the inside line, he's going to get a great shot in. Dimas is going to throw a dummy to try and scare Lund into returning the position. As you see shuffling up and down the field, there's 2 abreast, 3 abreast heading through turn 2. You've got the likes of the Aston Martin of Nowicki and Sparky going side by side in a little bit of a drag race. You've got Cordon up ahead trying to remain still, put themselves in a safe position, go for the safe plant of their car almost, but staying that, they're fighting against Tamas. They're squeezed against the wall, big contact, he doesn't get afforded the space, he's going to be pushed all the way down. There's debris from Zerki's Haas, and there's everyone in that mid-pack is suddenly fallen into tatters.
Yeah, and it seems to be from when Cordell was just trying to avoid somebody that's been more damaged. Haas has its front wing completely off, so you can see there just riding through. That's going to be Zerki's Haas completely damaged, and it was trying to avoid everybody that caused more chaos, and it's unfortunate, but this stuff does happen. This is racing on a tight street circuit. Up ahead, Leo Lund doing an absolute sterling job like he did at the start of the previous race, and this time holding his ground, but we haven't come up to the start-finish straight where realistically the danger does come, but Dimas has dropped so far back and he's not in a position to fight here.
Yeah, he's not in that position to fight, and of course, we get lap 3 with the DRS kicking in. He needs to be within that second, practically at all costs. 7/10, you're just on the fringe of having a little bit of slipstream, but it's negligible at that distance. So he's really going to have to put in the drive of his life for these next 2 laps if he wants any chance at staying in contention.
Yeah, Finn and Lundqvist getting all feisty. Lundqvist unable to get past Finn, but actually I think, no, Finn got past Lundqvist and has put himself in a good position, but this part of the track is another great overtaking opportunity, so the Red Bull might hinder an opportunity to try and fight back. You see in the distance the little peak, but no full attack there. And also Danny Coe, because of them fighting, is finding himself back into that second mark, so he really could stay with the front runners if he puts his foot down.
Yeah, that really is the thing. Putting his foot down, he's got to stay stable though. He has a little bit of a safety net with that 4.5 seconds. He can't mess that up. So he needs to keep a car stable, needs to keep the car almost in a little bit of a safe margin as he's driving. Because if nothing else, he stays within that contention and he doesn't overdo it, means that he's still going to benefit from the drivers up ahead.
And talking of benefits, I can see on the timing board, Gustav is extremely close to Garufu, and there's no real moves down in the second sector, but there is definitely a move down the start-finish straight as the rest of the drivers are nowhere near close enough. Actually, Lundqvist is also on the fringe as well. He's just pushed himself nice and close. You can see on your screen now. He might try and move, and with the straight line speed being ever so favourable for him, breezes past the Ferrari and takes 5th place for himself. And then we head back, we drop back to, we'll just watch him get into the braking zone, doesn't outbrake himself, so nicely done. There's Gustav. He's not made the move just yet, so he might be waiting till he gets a bit closer, but realistically Garufu is also trying to make an attack on the driver ahead. That's Oski, so might be a double move.
Watch this. Wait for turn 3, wait for Gustav to throw a little bit of a dummy in there. He's not going to go for it, but he's going to continue that subtle pressure on Garufu. I feel like I'm barely audible against these massive cars, but Ryderdal is going to keep that pressure on. He's not going to allow Garufu to breathe easy. He knows he's not going to get the move till realistically the next lap, but he is going to make sure that that Alfa Romeo knows what's coming.
Talking of the front, I'm just going to draw our attention back to the front very quickly. Lund, Dimas, Nage. How often have we heard those 3 near the top? Quite often is the answer to that question, as they are looking to be back on form. The top 3. It's a shame that Cordor isn't up there. He's down in 19th after the lap 1 incident, but those 3 names definitely having a great time, and Super Gaming trailing on the end, also being another name that keeps bringing himself up to there. Currently P7 in this championship, so still not out of this fight.
Super Gaming's trying to shake Lundqvist out of that DRS detection point, and it looks like he's got it. He has just managed to pip that Red Bull and keep him out of his hair. So now he's got practically free reign as he goes fastest lap of the race so far to chase down the top podium sitters.
Yeah, and he will do whatever he can, as Gustav will finally get past Oski for the final points position. And I want to briefly talk about opportunities here, because clearly a lot of these drivers, the early stages, they've taken all their opportunities right here, right now. But when it comes to actual overtaking, there isn't, I wouldn't say there's a massive amount of overtaking opportunities. The predominant one we've been seeing is turn 1. And then into turn 3 is another overtaking opportunity. You do see occasional moves into turn 2 when things get heated and absolutely hot-headed, but the likelihood is still very low. You see the occasional lunges. Again, the rarity of this move is into turn 7, which then puts yourself in a predicament because someone has to yield into turn 8 if they are not careful. Other moves, you do see occasional ones into turn 15 and 16, but again, the rarity is so minimal. So your overtaking spots that you're going to commonly see is 3 and 1.
I I differ slightly. I'd say your main hotspots are one, of course, with the start-finish straight. You get that massive surge of speed. It's practically unstoppable. You get three with either the second attempt or the retake from any sort of defending driver turned attacker. And then I see a bit more of turn 7 than anything else, to the point where I'd call it a prime overtaking spot. You say about drivers needing to yield, but that's realistically every attacking and defending move that there is in Formula 1. You've got a position where one driver has to yield. You want to be in such a way, and you can see right here, we're about to see play-by-play between Joris and Nowicki. You're about to set yourself up for an overtake. You need to put your car in a position where the defender has to be the one to yield. That is basic overtake mechanics.
Yeah, you are completely right. And just to clarify, he's not calling me stupid. Ben's not calling me stupid, because I know the principles of battle too well. What I was meaning is, especially in the exit of turn 7, you go into turn 8, and that is narrow. That's the place of yielding. And critically, as mentioned, you've got to make sure your car's ahead, because as stated by the rules as well, the driver who is ahead has right of way and can basically determine where he positions that car. Well, where he or she positions that car, and will happily do so. And coming into turn 7, you said another possible prime overtaking spot. You can see it narrows down into this area, and then the complete narrow area of the castle section as well. So yeah, you definitely have to position it right. And I tell you who's positioned things right. It's going to be Lund. Lund has positioned himself perfectly, being 1.5 seconds ahead, meaning Dimas is under threat here. And he's going to be pressured by Nage down the start-finish straight. And I think he's eyeing up a move to take away second place from Dimas. And we head through the final few turns. They're not really turns, but the ERS is activated. You can see the green light in the corner. And that's a clean, easy move for Nage.
Yeah, but notice how Dimas didn't apply overtake at any point. He knew that that move was practically inevitable, and fighting it was just a waste, even. So instead, you play your cards a little bit smarter. You conserve your resources and then wait for such a position as to where you can lock out for a longer time. So Dimas right now is going to keep that pressure on. He's not going to let Nage go so easily. No such thing. But he's definitely going to keep that pressure on. Maybe look for a move on lap 7 or heading into lap 7. But you don't... Sometimes you have to concede. Being a good defender, part of that is knowing when defending isn't the right option.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who definitely needs to defend is this train from P8 backwards. I was looking at the timing screens, and I think Gustav was side-by-side at one point, according to his numbers. And I'll tell you who is side-by-side. Here comes a turn 7 opportunity. It's going to be down for P12. Down the inside, Garufu is going to take P11, sorry. And that's the overtake we were talking about. Brilliant work, and now he's got himself in a good position through Sector 2 and through the tight area, and the train continues.
Yeah, the turn 7 overtake only really works if you have full control, like there's nobody beside you once you come out of the corner, once you're in that little straight heading into turn 8. If you have someone side by side, you pretty much know that it's going to be a game of chicken, especially if someone is on your left side, because to get them to yield is going to be a very dangerous game. Saying that though, there's a local yellow.
Is that yellow going to be enough for a safety car? Yes, it is! It is a full course safety car, and we were watching Gustav about to make a move onto Nowicki, but that's going to slow the pace down. And who's going to pit here? Who's going to go and make the change? And I think it's going to be everybody.
Well, they've only got 7 laps on the hard tyres, so we might see them jump onto the mediums and then jump onto the same set later. I don't know. I really don't know. In fact, we might see a double medium strat come out of this one, but the top runners have managed to dodge the loop of the safety car just about, so they will, of course, get that pit stop in. Good time saving, but it might compromise their track position, considering everyone else is now jumping into the pits.
Now, you said about going for a possible 2-stop. Now, we see a lot of these tracks, it's a one-stop strategy. Why in this situation would you change from this norm of that one-stop and go for the 2 here?
I think it's about understanding where you are. Of course, you need to weigh up whether staying on the hards, even with this sort of time save, is the right call, because I've said this so many times in races. What it really is you have the white walls, the hards, they are your mile munchers. They simply get you to where you need to be in order to put on the compound that you really want, which is usually the yellow walls, the mediums. And one thing that you have to keep in mind with a safety car is the amount of time you save where everyone else isn't at race pace. So it could be viable, considering the pace difference and the wear rate of the track, to consider going for a two-stop strategy, going double medium, and that way you get the best of both worlds. You get the higher pace, the higher raw pace of the medium tire, but you almost sunk that cost of the pit stop. And then once you go for your second stop, you're negating the drop-off of grip, as we see everyone, bar Alessandro Finn, head into the pits. I think that might be what we see happening.
Finn deciding, no, we're not ready for the change of tyres, trying the alternative strategy, and he's in that position where he can try something different and see what he can pull off. But there shouldn't realistically be any winners or losers in this pit stop phase, because everyone has gone in. They have all changed to the medium, bar, I think it was down at the back, you've got Tomas and Johansson who have said, no, we're not making that change. Though I think there's a couple of changes. Norwicki's dropped down a bit further than he was before.
Yeah, a couple drop downs. You do sometimes get unlucky on the pit timing.
Oh, they're two-stopping. They've just gone for their second stop.
Oh, I see. They are sneaky. They're going for circumventing the two compound rule. They don't want to be on that compound, but I think they might be able to consider going on the hards for any time that they want. I think they want that freedom.
Essentially as well, they've got the, you say about the freedom, they've got the option to then pit for the third time for themselves, or alternatively, they could go and just stay to the end, and that's always a possibility for themselves. But Finn, on the other hand, he's still under the rules, mandatory change of tyres needed, so he will have to pit for the mediums, but at the same time, he's going to be in a stronger position. He's got track position. He just now needs to fend off these fast runners behind him.
The only problem I have with this is, was the double stop worth all of that track position? And in a track like this, track position is more important than usual because it's such a narrow, tight configuration. It's not so easy to get around other cars.
At the same time, it's not Monaco though. You are able to overtake. You are able to gain position. So if you do plan to go aggressive off the start, you might be able to hop a few drivers. Okay, it's going to be harder because you're on that hard compound tyre, but I wouldn't rule it out to saying it's impossible. But we'll have to see, as Danny Coe is going into the pits, and so is Gustav. Are they also doing this idea that, hey, let's put on those hards? And yeah, they're going onto the hards as well.
Yeah, I think with the two, the other thing to remember, they might get a minor advantage out of this just because they're swapping onto new hards rather than old hards. They have two sets. So, of course, they get that little tiny bit of extra grip there compared to if they jump back on their, say, their older boots.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Lap 9 of 26. The clock is ticking down, the laps are ticking down, sorry, and it was in favour. Well, actually, I just realised Dimas has lost a few places here. He's down he's P6, he was P2. Retrospectively, you know, it would have been P3 in this situation because Finn's ahead. But he's lost out in this pit stop phase.
Yeah, he did lose out. He really did just get a bad pit stop. It's unlucky on the timings. Unfortunate, but really not much he could have done in that situation. He's still well within contention of the other drivers, so I don't think it's impossible that we'll see him jump back up.
Absolutely, and of course, if you're wondering, hang on a minute, I thought this is a game where you naturally go into the pits and you come out at the same time. No, we have immersive mode on, so that means drivers have to click a button. If it's on the steering wheel, it's usually like A, or I don't know what they have it binded to. Click a button and you have to time it right. Get a purple, you're looking at a 2.2 to 2.6 seconds stop. Get it at green, it's what, 2.4 to 2.8 seconds. And if you get it red and you massively go too late or you go too early, you're looking towards a 2.5 to 3 seconds plus. So it's all about getting it right. And talking about getting it right, we're down to the restart. And how long do you think Finn's going to stay ahead?
I think its days are going to be numbered in that pit, in that pole spot even. Of course, not going into the pit means that he is going to have to take it later. And he is going to have a very, very difficult time fending off from the now warm medium runners. So you can see that concertina effect as he's really banking on getting the jump on his opponent. Here we go, he's going to get it. He is going to get that little jump, importantly, but it's not going to be enough to make any meaningful shake as we are now back up at race pace, jumping into lap 10. S is where all the chaos is going to start kicking off. Lundqvist in the middle of it. Looking behind, couple of two abreast cars. You got immediate yellow coming out. That's going to be from Zerke, who's going to lose the car down in P19. And everyone is fighting up top. Leo Lund immediately going for that surge, heading into turn 3. Not even got the DRS yet, but is using that raw advantage on the grip. Nage is going to be peeking around, looking to do something similar. Boxed in though, big lockup from Finn. Is going to be boxed into almost the wall, really leading himself out of pocket. Super Gaming is going to get the double overtake, insert himself into that position very smooth and nicely, as Nage and Lundqvist now are fighting tooth and nail, bumping contacts, rubber, wheel to wheel. Those are the words that came out of my mouth.
Finn is actually not doing too bad. He's holding himself well. He's lost 2 positions off the get-go on the easiest section of the track, the straights. But through these corners, he's putting his elbows out. He's doing what he needs to in his current position, and he's holding off as much as he can. Unfortunately, Nage caught in the firing line. You saw the lock-up on screen, and that meant Finn did just go straight on. But luckily, no contact, no collision, and Nage still in this battle, as already it's a 1.6 second gap, and I don't think Finn's going to stay there for all too long, as Nage is already up the rear end, and he's going to be looking for an overtake, but Lundqvist is also going to be trying to eye up to see what he can do as well. He might try not only for Finn, but he might try for Nage as well, as Nage doesn't go immediately, and there around the outside, Lundqvist is going to say thank you. I'm going to try something round the outside as well. He's going to get 1. No, he's getting 2. He's got 2 on the inside. A little bit of contact between the 2 of the sister teams. And once again, Finn, because of the battle, might be trying to look down the inside. He's going to fight with the AlphaTauri. And the AlphaTauri's really struggling here. He's unable to fully commit and get past. And once again, Nage losing out. And Dimas is going to find himself back up into P4.
Dimas really just sort of appearing out of nowhere, similar to how he did in Quali. He really just sort of appeared, capitalized on the situation ahead of him, saw that Nage and Finn were fighting and putting themselves out of position, and just swoops down the inside and says, yep, I'll take that. Thank you very much. Probably the most efficient vulture I have ever seen. Looking at Finn, though, and the wider context of things, I don't think they are going to compromise on their strategy. They're on the hards. Realistically, they know that they are on damage control by this point, so why not go for a little bit of disrupt and sort of messing around with their opponents while they're in this semi-compromised position, because compromise for them also means compromise for their opponents. Look at Lundqvist, 1.7 seconds. He's got a task ahead of him, all right?
And that massive task as well, as we're riding on board with Joris. He's going straight on. He's nearly into the wall of turn 15. That's going to compromise his chances to fight and get the overtake on Finn on this lap. So he's going to have to wait an extra lap. And we're going to be seeing this from drivers. You mentioned about damage control causing chaos as well. And this is what's happening. You've got a slow driver ahead of you that you know you are massively faster in the second sector, but you can't do anything about it as DRS will be enabled. It's going to be annoying. You're stressed. You're annoyed. You just want to get past. And then comes the mistakes. So Joris has to stay calm, and as you see Garufu going deep again. The frustration showing it once again. The Ferrari driver is just going to say, thank you. I'm just going to fight back and cause even more chaos. And this is going to allow Joris to come down the inside. And Joris is going to look for one, maybe two. Down the inside? No, not enough to get the second driver.
But you have to admit, Finn is playing this perfectly. Like we saw on turn 1 with Garufu. He really baited him into that deep move, only to get the switch back in turn 2. This is how you control the race from a compromised position. Finn is doing a great job here. Even if he's dropping down the field, he's making a very hard time of the mediums around him.
Yeah, and we possibly are ballparking this. Because of the safety car, you could look towards lap 18, lap 20 maybe, go for the mediums to the end, and potentially, if he puts his tyres in a good position, he could go softs to the end.
Well, you've got a really good position for the hard runners, because looking at Finn, let's take the telemetry corner. 30% about on the fronts, 40% on the rears, and if you're running with the new crew, as I'll affectionately call them, so the 3-4 laps, you're looking at about 10%. With the double switches, they can run to the end. Finn is right in the middle, is going to have to switch because of the 2 compound rule, but if he ekes those mediums out, not the mediums, the hards, he will go on to softs, and he could get the fastest lap.
He could, and though, yes, he's down in P9, he won't necessarily get points. Once you're outside the top 10, you don't get any points, and once again, Finn is fighting back, and oh, that's a clip of the rear wheel, and that's Sparky out! Oh, that is not good, and Finn, he was playing devil's advocate, but look at that safety car once again, and this has gone in favour for Finn. He's now in P10 and effectively a free pit stop here to go onto the mediums and be fresher than the rest.
That's an absolute nightmare, though. I mean, luckily, other drivers managed to dodge the chaos that kicked off out ahead of them. Sparky's, of course, not going to be happy because, by all accounts, he was just getting around a slower driver, and it got that little. I think there was a little nudge. I think there was a little contact that forced him widen into that wall. Of course, we'll have to wait on the stewards to say for sure what really happened and their POVs. But this has gone super well for Finn because Finn can get that pit stop. Finn could realistically put on a superior strategy. And now these medium runners at the top end of the field have got a bit of a choice to make. They haven't really got enough mileage to compromise where they currently stand. I don't think they've got enough medium compounds in the actual pit wall. So what do they do?
It's that unknown. Who's willing to do what? If you're Nage, you're in that prime position, you're in that middle area, you could possibly take a risk, see how it plays off. But realistically, if you're Dimas, Lundqvist, Super Gaming and Lund, it's a very up in the air situation. And I was just looking at the chat. There's been no comments from the likes of Sparky, and the front two are going to pit. So they're saying, you know what? The right decision is to pop in and change tyres. But what are they changing it for? We quickly change to our site. It's going to be a fresh set of mediums on 6 laps.
Yeah, well, wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how we go. Because they could take this fresh set of
Everyone's
mediums
pitting
right to the end with no drop-off. Yeah, everyone is going to pit, I think, looking at that. And you said about Nage earlier being a bit more experimental. I think it's actually quite the opposite. You're in that position. You're behind the leaders. You pretty much got to follow their cadence exactly, unless you want to lose positions.
And look who's put himself at the front. Championship contender, Danny Coe. Once again, playing strategy in his own hands. He got his win in France, and his win in Austria due to strategy and playing the safety car card to the max. And lap 14 out of 26 is a bit more of the mid-pack now than when he did it before. And Danny Coe's looking at this, rubbing his hands, going, right, is this a potential another high points finish to keep me in this championship?
I think when we were looking at the double stoppers earlier, we were kind of treating it in isolation. Like, this is the only safety car. This is basically to circumvent the rule. But when you add a second safety car to the mix, it completely changes things up. So suddenly, this double stop seems a lot more viable if you can get to the front of the field and you can hold that till the end. My only concern is when everyone's clumped up together like this, the medium runners are just going to do what medium runners do, and they're going to get straight past. But it's that additional element. It's like a layer cake. Every single safety car, every single major event is an additional layer that suddenly drivers are having to balance and ice to their liking.
And if any of them got engineers as well, they're going to have them talking to them, coming up with new plans about how we're going to attack this. A lot of questions. And I think your analogy of a cake is pretty nice. It is another layer. It's another sequence to the story. Another question mark that we put through our heads. And this is the joy of this track. Baku just adding more complications, the twists and turns. And I said it guaranteed a safety car. Well, 2 safety cars. I wouldn't be too far off in saying that as well.
Well, this is why you have drivers getting engineers. We talk about the cake analogy. Let's run with it for a second. If you have too many layers and it's just you balancing it, the cake is going to collapse, and so is your front right suspension as it piles into a wall. So engineers are kind of there to take the load off and basically say, right, you focus on the driving. Of course, you have your input because you're in the driver's seat. You know how the car feels. If your tires are going, your tires are going. If your car doesn't feel as responsive, we need to react to that. But they're there to take the load off of the driver and give them that strategic guidance, that extra information that they can then use instead of them having to juggle it all on their own.
Absolutely. And for those who are new to the F1 esports scene, yes, it sounds crazy to the non-trained ears and eyes that we're talking about engineers in this, but realistically, it's much like having Counter-Strike and your coaches on the outside. As much as they are focused in the game, you need that additional support on the outside. So it does make sense if you break it down like that. Except we call our guys engineers because in the real world F1, our strategists are qualified engineers, and these guys are definitely qualified for the jobs they are running. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure, as we possibly might get safety car in this lap, question mark?
Yeah, I think maybe this lap. It's really late called on this track. But we talk about drivers and F1 being the pinnacle. What's a pinnacle without a foundation? That's the engineers, that's the staff surrounding you, helping you. And even in the real life counterpart, it's all the development team and the bosses, etc.
And you'd be surprised, there's a development team even in the pro guys. So of course the teams here, we have McLaren Shadow, Red Bull Racing Esports, etc. Even they've got development drivers, which you'll see in the likes of F2. And I think there's a couple dotted around, most of them's F2, I think 1 or 2 in F3, but majority of them F2. So keep an eye out, you'll see some of the development drivers racing there. But we're back to safety car in this lap, and Danny Coe, he wants to leave this as late as possible. You don't want to pounce early on this track.
No, you watch Danny Coe basically going as slow as he possibly can, getting everyone packed together like sardines, making sure they can't move where they want to, or it's as difficult to move as possible. Yeah, 60 miles an hour, that's just above the racing speed minimum. Not speed limit, speed minimum here on the track. Is really playing it so late at this point. And there you go. Big Gun is going to go for it. Really catches Nowicki off guard. Immediately, London's going to be alongside. So you know, as soon as he crosses the start-finish line, he's going to be going for it. There you go. Immediate application of that tyre advantage. P2 in the blink of an eye for Leo Lund.
Absolutely, and he needed to do that because he knows he can't be held up by 2 drivers whose tyres are not up to scratch. They're not up to his level. Essentially, these 2 are looking to one-stop this essentially do this to the end, and down the inside, Lund is going to take the lead of the race. Both drivers, done and dusted. He's not going to think twice about them, but Lundqvist, he's stuck behind these guys. He wasn't able to pounce quick enough, and Nowicki and Danny Coe are sitting here going, you know what? We're sitting in a good position here, and we've only lost 1 position off the start, and then in the 2 critical areas, they'll be proud of that. Lundqvist, he's screaming right now he's not got past.
I think you fail to realise sometimes the difference between these compounds until you see them side by side, which makes it all the more frustrating in Lundqvist's position. He knows he can't get past, it's way too risky. You can see almost in like the little micro movements how much he's trying to push and go around and get past, and he just can't. He's really just stuck there behind these hard runners that have no business keeping him tailed like that.
No business at all, and we round and cross the first lap after the second safety car, and Lundqvist is in a more primal position to make a move, but he's got to use a bit of ERS here because it seems like those hard tyres have warmed up quite nicely and they're doing a good job. Of course, straight line speed and a good exit, well, you can't really fight against that as Lundqvist will go past, but the next question is, will it be favourable? But somehow Nowicki is still fighting in this battle. The straight line on that Aston Martin is phenomenal. But
everything on the battery there.
That is incredible to see, but does he have any defense against Super Gaming, the next contender? He might be trying to fight back as well. You can see that Nowicki, the gap is slowly closing, but not closing well enough, and he holds P4 for another lap.
It's going to give it absolutely everything. He knows Lundqvist is on the edge now. Watch from Nowicki's POV. You can see that Lundqvist is a little bit shaky on the tail, is a little bit hesitant to fully commit on the throttle, and sometimes he's getting a little bit slower on the exits. Now, Nowicki is naturally slower being on the hards, but Lundqvist looks like he's really in trouble. I think he tapped the wall a couple times earlier as well.
I don't think I caught that on my eyes, but that would be worrying if there is any damage. I don't know if anything's showing for yourself, but nonetheless, we're watching Super Gaming trying to get past Nowicki, and you can see the frustration from Super Gaming. Again, we mentioned this before. The drivers who, like when Finn was in a primal position up front, he's basically causing havoc. These drivers are getting frustrated. They're doing everything they can, and this will cause mistakes, and we saw the mistakes cause the second safety car.
Oh, keep an eye on Super Gaming here.
Yeah, we are going to be watching Super Gaming, going to ride on board with him in a matter of fact, but we might have to switch off as Dimas is also extremely close. He gets past, but we're going to stick to the outside cam because there is another Aston Martin looking to see what he can do, but the inside, still Nowicki. Nowicki's still there, but he has to concede then, but down the inside, Dimas might be trying to go for a sneaky and cheeky overtake into turn 2. He looks to see what he can do, and Dimas is got himself back up into P4. He's going to be happy with that position, but Super Gaming is not giving in just yet. He's still fighting it out, and it's going to be also further back as Nage will try and get past the first of the Aston Martins, and he's put himself in a great position. So Nowicki, damage limitation not working out too well. That's another driver out of this session.
Who? That's Alia and Johansson. They're both
safety
out.
car again.
That's a third safety car. Yeah, Dimas put everything into that move right there against Super Gaming. Super Gaming held on like an absolute champ, to be fair. Even when he had inches from the wall, he held his ground. He put his car exactly where he needed to be. Just pipped the detection point too, so he had the DRS to get back out ahead. Not that it matters now with the safety car coming in, but Dimas is going to breathe a little sigh of relief. Now he gets to fully recharge his battery again.
Yeah, and that will mean that he can then fight and try and get himself back up the positions. Theoretically, this is a good time for Danny Coe to pit, so we're most likely going to see him pit, so that moves all the drivers up a position from there onwards. I don't see him staying out, though. That I do not see happening.
Tough to call. I think at this stage in the race, what he's going to do in terms of compound, I think he's going to go pits, no question. But what compound are going to come out on? I think it's going to be medium, but do they have the old or the new compound that they can jump to?
If they got an old one, would you start to consider new? As no? Danny Coe is saying, you know what? I'm in a good position. I've got good pace with these tyres, and he did. He was putting himself quite far ahead and had himself in a good, comfortable position. He's saying, you know what, I'm just going to stick with these hard tyres.
More importantly, the top runners, they don't go into the pits. Nowicki is the only driver who actually does so, because we're at that stage in the race where any benefits are going to be negated by the time that you lose. You do still lose time, even under a safety car, when you go into the pits. So for these top runners, only 5 laps on the mediums, it's not really worth it to go for that kind of thing, even onto something like the softs to get that fastest lap, they diminish just as fast.
And that's the question we have to ask. Who actually has the fastest lap at the moment?
Who has the fastest lap? That is going to be a moniker heading to Leo Lund with a 141.263. So not only getting the fastest lap, but doing so very comfortably. It is, I think, going to take a soft compound in order to break that top.
And who is going to risk it? I don't think anyone's realistically going to risk that chance, but we are heading and going to be crossing the line for lap 20, and there is room, and it's sad to say, but it is true, there is room for one more safety car before we then get banned. I say banned, loosely saying the game doesn't allow another safety car from there onwards. So we're at the fringe of one more safety car could come out if there is a major crash, which is possible because we're fighting and we're pushing hard. But if you're in that situation, the safety car does come out for the 4th time, do you then start to think about the soft tyres and maybe stealing that fastest lap?
I still wouldn't. Because track position is key. And those soft tyres are going to be powerful, yes. But everyone who pits in for them is going to be down the grid, and they're not going to make up that amount of time in 2 laps. So for the non-Codies in the audience, we have 26 laps. The game is hard-coded so that the safety car, no matter what happens, has to come in on lap 24. So we have 2 laps of racing, no matter what happens at the end. And with that time frame, you're not going to see anyone make that big of a risk.
Absolutely. You would hope so. You would really hope so. So I think my 4th safety car might actually be a bit far-fetched. If it goes in this lap and then instant safety car, yeah, it's still possible, but it's a stretch. It's a major stretch for a safety car to come out.
I think it is a stretch at that point. We've already sacrificed 5 drivers to the offering ground that is Baku. Let's not think about it anymore.
Oh, well, let's not think about it at all, as the pack does regroup amongst themselves, and we definitely should get racing for lap 21. And I know it's a bit early, but who in this group is eyeing up to be your driver of the day so far?
The driver of the day, if I had to pick one right now, I'm actually going to go for Romain here. He's plus 10. He's kept his head down. He's made the best out of everyone else's scenario. He hasn't seen any real drama. And amongst the likes of everyone else, yes, we've had some very heroic drives, some very heroic moves. But for me, I'm a sucker for consistency. I'm a sucker for drivers who just get their head down and get the job done. And Romain here, I would say, has done that very effectively, to the point where we haven't mentioned them once until now, and they're suddenly up in P8 in points payer.
Romain down in P17 in the championship. This would be P8. It would be his... I'm going to find him again. It wouldn't be his best points position, but it would be a definite good area to find himself in. As you can see on my screen, look at the tyre difference between Danny Coe and the driver ahead. That's Lundqvist. Lundqvist is about to actually match the tyre degradation of Danny Coe. So that's something we have to keep an eye on. But safety car is in this lap, and Leo Lund will effectively now, a new driver at the front of the safety car pack. Is he going to pounce later? Is he going to pounce now? We wait to see when he does. Patience. It is such a long straight. It is so long.
It's a very...
Now he goes. He decides just as I'm about to pass it over to you, but no, Lundqvist has actually caught on and clocked it correctly. He's looking to maybe fight into the first turn, but the Mercedes going to hold it nice and tight. But Dimas and Nage are also fighting for positions ahead of them. They're trying to get what they can, but we're going to stick with the front because Lundqvist is possibly and trying to see what he can do onto the safety car restart. Into turn 3 is going to be the primal situation to make the move, but there's just nothing there. And with Dimas fighting, Danny Coe wipes his brow and says, "Thank you very much, boys. I'm sitting here comfortably," with nearly has a full second behind him.
Oh, big jump, big jump. in terms of what he has to do. But also, where Danico sits, he's pretty safe. I feel for Lund here. He really did have every idea and making a great launch. But the problem is that unpredictable is predictable. So going for that early gun, I was kind of counting it in my head. That's why I suddenly just yelled out now. Like I saw that little glint, that sudden straight up, and we knew it was go time. But the problem is that with everyone else going on the late, everyone else going on that late jump just under the DHL banner, I almost knew that Lund was going to go super early. And Lundqvist knew it too, hence he got the really good jump on it too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a car out onto the wall. There's yellow flags everywhere. Are we going to be triggering one last safety car?
No, I just gave you props, Roman.
Commentator's curse coming out once again. And look at Danny Coe. He's, oh no, that's against him. He's going to be trying to fend off the Aston Martin. I don't think it's going to last too long. And that's going to be P3 for Dimas. But still, the straight line speed of the McLaren not making it all too easy. It's going to be down to the braking zone. The switchback is going to be questionable. But the positioning of the Aston Martin will go in his favour. Super Gaming trying to then also get past the McLaren. But the McLaren is holding his ground. And Danny Coe, it's damage limitation here. He's got a little gap behind him to the next Alfa Romeo. But again, once again, Danny Coe holds his position. P4 is looking prominent for him.
I think Danny Coe is going to drop about a position every single lap. I'm going to call that Danny Coe is going to finish about P7 by the end of all of this. Because Gustav Ryderdahl is also looking to make a jump on Nage potentially. You can see him eyeing up a potential option heading down into the start-finish straight. It's keeping him honest, keeping him on the tail there, but Nage's got significantly more battery. This is where that higher level play, but
Nage's gone wide. Danny Coe's gone wide, yeah. What happened there? It just complete straight. I've got
overcooked it coming out of Castle there. It's just turn 11. It just didn't steer. He locked it on the brakes, panicked. Oh. And so he's dropped it down to P7.
Oh, he's gone into the wall.
Even more. Not looking good. That's worse, much worse than P7. That's P11. And now, with end plates gone, and front wing entirely shaved off, the best he's going to be able to set support. And oh, that Circuit completely smashing the Armco. Heading through turn 18, but of course with so close to the end that even with the debris and what I thought, I'll be honest, with the amount of violent jerking that Haas experienced, I thought that was game over. I really thought that was game over.
Unfortunately, I have to take your word for that. We weren't able to capture that on the stream itself, but the real battle, I want to talk about battles and where it's really standing. Is up in second place. Look at Lundqvist. Adam Lundqvist fighting against his teammate up ahead. Lund, who has been in control of this race for the majority of, well, actually nearly all of this race. He has been a hard runner who has been just holding his own. 13 years of age, may I point out. I think he's 13 from what I got told. Lund just has this natural cool when he's up ahead. Like nothing bothers him. And he's got the pressure of Lundqvist, but he's not phasing, he's not being bothered by it.
I think this is a testament to what I like to call the one-track mind. It's, you're in this position, you're in first, and when you're in that position of being in first and with effectively control of the race, you got better battery than Lundqvist, you got, realistically looking at some of the tyre degs, you got better balanced degradation than Lundqvist. You've got that half-second gap. You kind of have to just switch your brain off. You go into hot lap mode. Not every driver can do this. It's very easy to crack under the pressure, but I think Lund has, if anything, a knack for just understanding the situation and just being able to go almost into the flow state. It's like a sense of, I am the only thing that exists on this track. I will drive my race. You're welcome to intrude, but I am perfectly composed and I'm not letting anyone stop me.
And just to add on to that, Lundqvist is using a lot of ERS. He's down to 14% to try and fight up ahead, but it's not working out all too well as still Lund just holds his ground. And the first time penalty of the day is Norwicki, which is very hard on this track, really, to get a time penalty unless you are majorly cutting the corners. And especially getting that last penalty in the first sector, well, that's impressive. I'm not going to lie, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'll give him that. A very interesting development to come out of Baku, because usually the time penalties are permanent because your tyre is detached from your car.
Yeah, well, somehow he did it. And there's 3 seconds onto Norwicki's race, which is effectively going to put him into P13 and not for any points. But we head to the second to last lap, and it's going to be a wind-up now. Lundqvist is going to be looking to see what he can do, what he can wind up in this situation, apply a bit of the pressure onto Lund, because realistically he wants to make the move on the last lap and into turn 1 next time around, where he's in a safer position. But it could go against him. He might want to decide, you know what, here might be a good point, as he's the closest he's ever been to the race leader, and the closest that really the race leader's ever had of an attack throughout this race as they go into turn 2. And again, Lundqvist is still relatively close, but we know he doesn't have a good amount of battery. He's got the DRS that will massively help, and the red flashing light saying he's nearly out. And he's going to have to wait until turn 1 again.
Want my hot take?
Go for it.
I think Lundqvist has already cooked it. He sealed his fate in P2. He deployed his overtake in the start-finish straight of lap 24 and put his battery basically to empty. As soon as he did that, he basically signed his race away for a chance at the top spot. Because now, Lund has got way more battery than him. He's got control of the race with track position. He can put his car right where Lundqvist doesn't want him to be. And even with the proximity, he can either get the retake on the second DRS zone if he goes on the back straight. He can either get the retake on the start-finish straight on the final lap with the extra battery, or he can not get the move at all and settle for P2. Either way, regardless of how you slice it, I think Lundqvist is locked in P2 here, despite his best efforts. You can see that with Lund pulling away.
Yeah, he is pulling away, and it's not going to be a great attempt for Lundqvist. And I think Lund will be ever so happy, but no one's really in that prime position to attack elsewhere on the grid. Actually, saying that, we're going to draw our attention away from the front because nothing's really going to happen. We drop on board with Nage, who's going to be the closest to fight. I will be keeping an eye on that timing board. Also, Super Gaming pushed right the way up as well to try and attack onto Dimas. But Lundqvist still 5/10 behind. There's no opportunity unless he dive bombs it into the side. But then that is just poor gaming spirits. And it's gonna be Nage, the possible threat. He looks to the inside, but again, nothing from the two. And we just drop our attention to the front, to Lundqvist, and that isn't a pretty sight for himself.
Yeah, everyone's in a DRS train, P3 through 6. There's not really much you can realistically do there. Nage can throw the moves, but they're all kind of running out of time, running out of options, and any move that you throw at this point is kind of going to be a little bit of a Hail Mary. So, with that in mind, I commend the effort, absolutely, but Nage isn't really in the position to bargain with the top runners, no matter what moves he kind of throws up the field. But looking at the top end, I think we might have a little bit of sealed.
It could be sealed. Depends how much battery Lundqvist has actually charged for himself, because he's the closest he's ever been round the final major corner. This could actually theoretically come down to a drag race. He's closest that he's ever been, but is he close enough to make anything from there? But no, it's going to be quite dominant from Lund. He led this race from the very start. He started in P2. He put himself in pole P1 from the start of the race. He comes across the line. Leo Lund wins the Baku Grand Prix.
And it was a good run there too, I'd say. I know that I was quick to call early Lundqvist's P2, but that didn't stop him from trying. And I think that speaks a lot to the commitment, the driver, and how much they are willing to put into the race. It's like, even if it's a 1% chance, 1% chance is bigger than 0, so it's worth taking.
Yeah, any percentage of chance to just try, put a lunge in, go for that attack. I would take that opportunity all day, every day, and do what they can. I'm about to sneeze.
Yeah, well, you look at the rest of the fields. Of course, you've got finishing off the podium. You do have Alexander Dimas. You got the 2 Alfa Romeos. Very good day for Alfa Romeo here. P4 and P5 are certainly going to be happy on the constructors' fronts because those are both high finishes. The rest of the drivers aren't going to be looking so happy because the majority of them had one of their teammates. I don't think we had any both. No, we had, I think, the was it the Hasses? No, Hasses were good. No, so we didn't have anyone who had both team members lose out, both team members crash out of the race, but still 8 out of 20 did not make it to the end.
That is a massive number, but it just goes to show the dangers of this track and how much it damages you. But there you go, Leo Lund on the win once again. He's back on form, he's back on top. Lundqvist takes second, Dimas third, Super Gaming in fourth, Garufu in fifth, Nagy finds himself down in sixth, Riderhall in seventh, Alders in eighth, Oski in 9th, Finn in 10th, Danny Coe finds himself all the way down 11th, so he made a slight comeback, but not enough. Zerky in 12th, Joris, our championship leader, no points for him, and he will he will hold the championship, no he won't, he'll probably lose it out. Norwicki in 14th, Roman in 15th, the Red Bull in 16th, Johansson in 17th, and still disappointing me, Sparky in 18th, Tomas in 19th, and Cordor in 20th, and what a day of racing.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note is that Zerky went for the fastest lap, got a 140.0, but he did jump onto the softs. So we were talking earlier about that strategy, going into the softs, stealing the fastest lap, damage control. Only reason Zerky did that was because of their crash, and they didn't really have anything to lose from that whole ordeal. So it was worth damage control. And coming off of that, you have everyone else who gave it their best shot, but unfortunately some of them did not make it home, some of them did, but a little bit worse for wear, not in the positions they'd otherwise like to be, and there's a lot to take in because it was very chaotic.
There is a lot to take in, and just going through the moments, like, you'd have to be a genius to recognise every moment that did happen. And the question I have to ask for you, it said Justin Alters was driver of the day in the game. Who do you think is driver of the day?
Tough. I'm going to have to rescind my previous driver of the day from Roman because he made that massive mistake just after I commended him. I don't know. I think Dimas capitalised a lot of the day. I think Lundqvist put up a really, really good fight. I think Danny Coe, for all of his flaws, like, he did mess it up at the end, but up until that point he did really well as well. But Leo Lund, he had such a dominant performance. I was focusing on the big jumps, but Lund just dominated that race. It is kind of no contest when you look at it in the bigger picture.
Shall we have a word with Lund? He's waiting quite patiently.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, let's bring him in to the chat. Lund, just caught you mid-conversation apparently. Lund, another dominant race for you. You started the season with a dominant. Now you are in this point, the midpoint, and you're back on the dominance again. Are we seeing the Lund we saw at the start?
Maybe. I don't know. I was unlucky in the beginning. I got my win and then I made mistake.
Well, you were putting on a show. You go on.
As I said, I made many mistakes in the beginning, so now I doing comeback.
Yeah, and today's race, you looked confident and chilled. You had a little threat by Lundqvist right behind you. Did that add any fear to you come the last safety car?
I didn't worry so much about him, but he was fast, but I managed to get P1.
Absolutely. Anything from
He's
you?
a clean driver too, so I trust him.
Sappy, anything from you for Lund?
I think the main question is on the strategy front. I mean, what were you expecting heading into the race? Please don't say 3 safety cars.
I was expecting at least 1 safety car, but not that early, so it was not good for the strategy, but then another came out, so I didn't need to box it, or I would get a puncture.
Yeah, and how did the safety cars kind of change how you approached the race? Because obviously you had the first one, which you quite rightly planned for. I think it's expected to have at least 1. I think that's fair enough. But as we had the later safety cars come on, how did that change your approach to the race, if at all?
I was being happy because it will fuck up for me if they did not come out, so it was good.
Well, thank you very much, Lund. It's lovely to speak to you. We're going to bring in Lundqvist, our second place runner of this race. Lundqvist, it definitely was a challenge for you, but just couldn't make it at the end.
Yep. It was a sweaty race. A lot of safety cars, messing my plan up.
What was your plan then? You said it messed your plan up. What was the plan going forward into this?
Not having to overtake people on hards. Making it harder for me. But
Yeah, I can see how that doesn't work. Sappy?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any particular strategy heading into it? So I asked the same to you really as I did the alum just now. Did you have any sort of prime strategy heading in, any predictions with like safety cars and events, and how did the massive number of safety cars affect your approach to the race?
Yeah, I was about to change last second to mediums because my race engineer told me to do so, but I didn't. I went on hard instead. The original plan, pretty straightforward. Just go.
Absolutely, and congratulations, Lundqvist. A brilliant race from you, and we're going to get the last driver in, and he's back on form. He's back where he needs to be. Dimas, you've had a dip not only here in other leagues as well. I've been wanting to say to you that this isn't you that we've been seeing, but today I feel you're back on form, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, joined a new team with Leo, Land and Adam. I improved already on Baku and with the setup. I got an engineer today, which helped me a lot in the race. Quali went really good for me and stuff, but the race was...
There's a question I have to ask, and it's a common theme in other leagues and also in this one. Do you not like the Middle Eastern tracks because you do not have any good results on the Middle Eastern tracks?
No, I don't like them all, but my luck hasn't been great on league races for the past week. And now it has been better, my luck, of course. Still in the race, I started P1 and ended P3 because I had some damage in the castle section, which I had to pit for new front wing and stuff. So luck wasn't also great here, but better than on other tracks.
Sappy?
Well, I'd say that P3 is fine form and good luck in itself. I mean, my main question to you is, you said about having a new team, like a new org, having a race engineer, all of these different changes. I guess my first question is, did all of these changes throw you off at any point? Like, did it feel alien to you, or was it still a comfortable environment?
It was comfortable. It was better than normal. Because normally I would sit in my own and do a race and make my own decision. now I have someone beside me, which helped me a lot and can improve me also with the setup and stuff. So it's just better for me to join this team. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Awesome. And I guess the other half of that question is, with all of this extra support and you feeling much more comfortable, much happier, which I'm super happy for you for, what was your mindset heading into today's race? Like, did you have any specific goals, any aims? Like, what was your approach to tonight's race?
Now, firstly, I was confident to get into this race, of course, because everything was good, setup, strategy, everything was well prepared. Quali went great, everything went great. Only the race pace, Leoland was faster. But preparation was pretty good for this race, so I was confident to get into this race. But Adam and Leoland were just on another level, so I couldn't catch up to them.
Still did really well, mate. And say, congratulations on the new team. Happy it's going well for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Dimas, and it has been a spectacular race today, and moving into the next race, we're going back to China. How we have missed this track for so long.
I miss China, honestly. It's not the most unique in some areas, but visually, like it has set pieces. Like I love the term set pieces. It's like this big, bombastic thing. Like you have, of course, you have Marina with the hotel. You have Singapore, where it's like main thing is being under the lights and was the Singapore Sling. You have, you have Eau Rouge and Radion, Spa, and then Shanghai. You've got the massive tower hotel, and then some of the banked corners as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing it back.
Yeah, I'm loving it, and just visually in my head, I'm just picturing the track turn 1 through to turn 2, and even 3, 4. I need to double check my numbers. That whole area is overtake galore. You've got the massively long straight coming down into the final final 2 turns there. Great overtaking opportunities. So again, it's got that element of essentially like Baku, where you've got that really long straight which you can work, and then a semi-follow section into turn 1, which again poses a lot of different strategy and overtaking moves. So I'm intrigued of how it's going to go, and I tell you what it does make me feel. It makes me feel a bit like going back to Malaysia. In a way, I miss Malaysia. It needs to come back. Formula 1, go to Malaysia. But yeah, any last words from you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. This is completely uncharted territory because we haven't seen these new generation of cars in real life at Shanghai. So it properly is uncharted territory and exclusive to league racing. So you're definitely not going to want to miss it, folks. And I'll see you there.
Absolutely, and if you want more action, of course, there are of course leagues across the weekend. I say leagues, races across the weekend. I nearly just got myself fired from this job. There are races across the weekend from the PSGL team, but of course the main action does come on the Wednesdays, where Tier 1 battle it out in the hyped up action of the best of the best. But if it is the action of the Tier 4, then well, gotta wait 1 week and you'll be back there. Thank you very much for watching and have a great night.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.